All right, how's everybody doing today? Hotep, hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. So it is Saturday, January 15th, 2022. And I'm here just for a few minutes because I have to teach this online class. But I wanted to do just a brief preview of a online class I teach on Saturdays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. So teaching another installment of the class today. I just wanted to come on here for a few minutes, give you a preview of the online class. It's a 10-week online course that I teach. And I teach it at my online school. So we have the information posted here. You can register for the class. And we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. So in today's class, we're going to pick up at the end of World War II, okay, which ends in 1945, September 2nd, 1945. And one of the things we're going to deal with is how the GI Bill discriminated against African-American World War II veterans. I've talked about this some before, and we're going to deal with this in the class. And they were discriminated against when it came to taking advantage of the benefits they earned, being able to get low interest loans through the GI Bill, also being able to get money to go to college, and being able to get money to start businesses. And this is going to contribute to the racial wealth gap. Okay, the GI Bill, which was the last, which was the last bill of the New Deal coming from President Franklin Roosevelt. The GI Bill has contributed significantly to the racial wealth gap. So we're going to talk about the GI Bill today. Also, we'll deal with the Baton Rouge, Louisiana bus boycott of 1953. Now, we know today is Dr. King's official birthday. Okay, we know he's born January 15th, 1929. So happy birthday, Dr. King, as well. And as we see the protests across the country, we saw the protests in Arizona today, the King family, Martin Luther King III, and many others, Latasha Brown of Black Voters Matter, putting pressure on Senator Kirsten Sinema of Arizona to do a carve out to the filibuster or get around the filibuster to pass the Voting Rights Act, John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, especially. As we see all this unfold, this is all related to history. Okay, and these are things that we deal with on the African History Network show and in the class, etc. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today, as well as on my Sunday show, and my radio show is on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the African History Network show, is Dr. King in his last speech, April 3rd, 1968. He said that we have to always anchor our external direct action with the power of economic withdrawal. We have to always anchor our external direct action with the power of economic withdrawal. And he was talking about economic withdrawal strategies, economic boycotts. And this is one of the things that's missing here with the voting rights movement. This is one of the things that's missing. There's no economic withdrawal strategies to target these corporations. This is something I talked about on Roland Martin Unfiltered yesterday. And I don't understand why these civil rights organizations are not doing that. Okay, so we'll talk about that some more on Sunday show. But I wrote an article dealing with I wrote an article back in December 15th, 2015, and I've updated it a few times. We posted the article today on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, because I write articles as well. So I'm so busy doing radio. I do radio 5-6 days a week. I do Roland Martin Unfiltered on Fridays. I haven't written an article in some time. So I've written, I think maybe about 60 articles, something like that. You can read all of my articles at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, right on the homepage. Just click on read articles by Michael Imhotep. But this is an article I wrote December 15, 2015, and I just updated it today. Why did Dr. King tell us to redistribute the pain? Understanding the power of economic withdrawal. And in Dr. King's last speech, he said that we have to always anchor our external direct action with the power of economic withdrawal. Okay. And this is something that Minister Farrakhan talked about when he was interviewed by Roland Martin on News One Now with Roland Martin back in 2015. Minister Farrakhan referenced Dr. King as well. Okay. So we're going to talk about this article here in my class today, as well as on my radio show tomorrow. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Normally, I teach the class on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm behind schedule today. I'm speaking in West Virginia on Monday at Davis Elkins College in West Virginia. On Monday, I'm speaking there for Dr. King Day for the Black Student Unions bringing me in. And I'm trying to do that, get ready to get out of here. There's my first flight was canceled because of the storm that's hitting the East Coast right now. So I had to spend an hour this morning getting rebooked. I'm working on this. I'm working on the content of the show for Sunday night, all this. So I'm behind schedule today. Okay. So I'm just glad to be here. All right. So for those who are just tuning in, I'm just doing a quick preview of a 10-week online course that I teach on Saturdays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Class is regularly $130. It's on sale $50 right now. It's on sale only $50. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. Okay. And we deal with history leading up to what causes the Civil War to take place, I start with the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. Then we go through and look at history leading up to that. We look at the Compromise of 1820, the Missouri Compromise of 1820. We look at the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 1848. We look at the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo of 1848, which ends the Mexican-American War. We look at Texas coming into the Union as a slaveholding state in 1845, Missouri Compromise of 1850, okay, the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. We look at all the stuff that leads up to the Civil War taking place, and then we go through. In each class, we look at approximately a 10, 15, 20-year period of history. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips. The next class we're doing today about 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can register for the class. We posted the link here. You can register for the class and join us in the class. Okay. So just a few of the things we deal with, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about in today's class. So, of course, we deal with Reconstruction, which is a crucial period of history. Early in the week, I talked about this study from the Zen Education Project that deals with how the history of Reconstruction is not being properly taught in schools. So Louisiana Purchase, and we know that came about because of the Haitian Revolution and the Haitians beating the hell out of the French. We deal with Reconstruction. Okay, the Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877. And the Civil War destroyed the institution of slavery, ensured the survival of the Union, and set in motion economic and political changes that laid the foundation for the modern nation. And this is historian Eric Foner in his book, Reconstruction, America's Unfinished Revolution, 1863 to 1877. During Reconstruction, the United States made its first attempt to build an egalitarian society on the ashes of slavery. And then, of course, we talk about Special Field Order number 15, 40 acres and a mule, and how the land was taken back. General Order number 3, Major General Gordon Granger in 1865. That's what Juneteenth commemorates. We deal with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. We talk about the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866 and people like Sarah Rector, who was the richest Afro-American girl in the country. Her parents were of enslaved Creek ancestry, and she got land because of the Dawes Allotment Act of 1887. Her and her family, and oil was discovered on her land, and she became a millionaire. Due to the 15th Amendment of 1870, ratified February 3rd, 1870, adopted 1870, 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. We look at the Reconstruction Acts. The four Reconstruction Acts, especially the Reconstruction Act of 1870, the Enforcement Acts, the four Enforcement Acts during Reconstruction, especially the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871, which was used in October 1871 by President Ulysses S. Grant to declare martial law in 9 South Carolina counties because the Klan and other domestic terrorist organizations were attacking African-American elected officials, white Republican elected officials, beating them up, killing them, all different types of things like this. So martial law was declared, and the Ku Klux Klan Act was put in place directly targeting that domestic terrorism that was happening, especially in the South, which was targeting elected officials. So we talk about the Freedmen's Bureau, then we look at different massacres like the Eufaula Massacre of 1874 in Alabama, Vicksburg Massacre, 1874, Vicksburg, Mississippi, different things like this. Now, and then we go through history to understand how we got to where we are today. To understand how we got to where we are today. Historical events don't happen in a vacuum. They are the culmination of a sequence of historical events that take place that lead up to larger events happening. So we have to understand this history of what happened and laws and policies put in place to bring us where we are today, to understand where we need to go from here. And then after Reconstruction ends with the Compromise of 1877 between the Republicans and the Democrats, the Compromise of 1877, then we're going to see Jim Crow laws put in place. This is before Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, but we're going to start seeing a reversal even before they start rewriting the state constitutions to suppress the vote of African Americans. We're going to see changes made when it comes to public accommodations and transportation. So we see Tennessee is going to be the first state to segregate railroad cars. This is the state legislature. Tennessee does this in 1881. They're going to be followed by Florida in 1887, Mississippi 1888, Texas 1889, Louisiana 1890. Louisiana, the change in the state law in Louisiana segregating railroad cars. This is going to lead to Homer Plessy in 1892 in Louisiana. Homer Plessy, who described himself as 7/8 white and 1/8 African. Okay, this is going to lead him to being arrested on a railroad car when he's in the white section and told to go to the colored section, and he refuses to do so. This then is going to lead to the U.S. Supreme Court case of Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, which legalizes separate but equal. And that's going to stay in place until May 1954, the Brown versus Board of Education, U.S. Supreme Court case, U.S. Supreme Court decision. You have Louisiana, 1890, Alabama, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Georgia, 1891, South Carolina, 1898, North Carolina, 1899, Virginia, 1900, Maryland, 1904, Oklahoma, 1907. So what's taking place? These southern states, largest southern states, and then even out west, Oklahoma comes into the Union in 1907. When Oklahoma comes into the Union, they quickly implement segregation laws. This is why Bass Reeves has to retire. Okay, Bass Reeves, who was a U.S. Marshal, Bass Reeves has to retire in Oklahoma because they institute segregation laws. Okay, and it's believed that Bass Reeves is the real life figure that the Lone Ranger is based upon. And that we've talked about this here on the show before, Bass Reeves and the Lone Ranger. There's some good, blackpast.org has some good information on Bass Reeves and uh, Deputy U.S. Marshal Bass Reeves. There've been a few movies about him. There's the book. Was it Silver Star? I think it is. Yeah, Bass Reeves, Black Gun, Silver Star, the life and legend of Frontier. Black Gun, Silver Star, the life and legend of Frontier Marshal Bass Reeves. Okay, by Art T. Burton. Okay, and I have that book. It's in another stack of books here. I've got a bookshelf behind me. I've got um, a stack of books to the right of me, and then I got 2 stacks of books in the front of this desk. Okay, this book right here is about Bass Reeves, the legendary lawman who's believed the Lone Ranger character is based upon. So when Bass Reeves, so when Oklahoma, because Bass Reeves was in Oklahoma, when Oklahoma becomes state in the Union, Bass Reeves shortly after that has to retire because they instituted segregation laws, and they wouldn't allow African Americans to be deputy U.S. Marshals in Oklahoma. So in addition to instituting segregation laws in transportation, public accommodations, things like this, we're going to see the state legislatures start to rewrite their state constitutions and implement poll taxes and literacy tests. And we're going to see the first poll taxes. It's going to be about 1879 with Florida. Okay, right about 1879 with Florida or so. But in 1890 in Mississippi is going to have the Mississippi State Convention. And at the Mississippi State Convention, they're going to rewrite the state constitution to implement poll taxes and literacy tests. And they're targeting African Americans. So African Americans were the majority of the voters in 1890 in Mississippi, and we're basically the majority of the population in Mississippi. So you're going to have Solomon Saladin Calhoun, who was the White County judge who presided over the Mississippi State Convention. He said that we are here to exclude the Negro. Okay, he said we are here to exclude the Negro. And there's an article from Washington Post about this. Now, what Mississippi did became known as the Mississippi Plan. This is why you see a lot of these former Confederate states passing these voter restriction bills in their state legislatures. All this stuff is connected and is all related to history and is related to power. Okay. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. Let me repeat. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. This is what politics is. Voting is only one part of politics, but voting then impacts all these other aspects of politics. So when you go back and you go back to 1890 and you go back to 1889 and 1898 Louisiana, and Louisiana is going to institute the grandfather clauses in Louisiana. Okay, we go back and we see this is designed to lock African Americans out of power, to lock us out of political power, to keep us in a low subservient position in life. Okay. And that's 1889 with Florida, right? The year before, 1889, Florida becomes the first state to institute poll taxes. Then Mississippi is going to do it. But what Mississippi does, it gets copied by other states. South Carolina, 1895, Louisiana, 1898, Alabama, 1901. Right now in Alabama, they're still trying to remove racist language from the Alabama state constitution that was last written in 1901. Right now, even though the most harmful effects of the Alabama state constitution have already been removed, they're still trying to. And there was an article from New York Times that I talked about on my show a few months ago that deals with this, the effort to remove this racist language from the Alabama state constitution that was rewritten in 1901 to codify white supremacy. Okay, another former Confederate state, Alabama. All this history is connected. So if we look at this article here from New York Times, Alabama begins removing racist language from its constitution. Many outdated provisions have long since been invalidated, but the language that was specifically intended to enshrine white supremacy has remained. But the language that was specifically intended to enshrine white supremacy has remained. Okay. But if you look at this, this is the New York Times. Okay, this isn't blackamericaweb.com. The last time Alabama politicians rewrote the state constitution, their aspirations were explicitly racist, quote, to establish white supremacy in this state. This is what they said they wanted to do. Quote, the new constitution eliminates the ignorant Negro vote and places the control of our government where God Almighty intended it should be, with the Anglo-Saxon race, end quote, said John Knox, the president of the Constitutional Convention in 1901 in Alabama that rewrote the state constitution. He said this in a speech encouraging voters to ratify the document that year, 1901. 120 years later, the Jim Crow era laws that disenfranchised African-American voters and enforced segregation across Alabama are gone, but the offensive language written into the state constitution in 1901 remains. Now, as communities across the South reconsider racist symbols and statues, activists in Alabama who have labored for 20 years to convince voters that rewriting their constitution is important and long overdue, now they see an opportunity to get it done because the Constitution was rewritten in 1901 to suppress African Americans. And when Reconstruction ended, because if you go back to 1868, okay, this is why we have to understand history, and the people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past and the present and the future to meet the needs of the community. There was a an education project has this piece, and I think it was I think this is the right one. The Alabama Constitution of 1868 during Reconstruction. Okay, and this Constitution, let me pull this up here. This Constitution, where is that? This Constitution was written to be beneficial to African Americans. It should be the Zen Education Project. Okay, Alabama State 1867. This is during Reconstruction, which is 1865 to 1877. November 5th, 1867. November 5th, 1867. Let me look at this here. November 5th, 1867, Alabama Constitution. On November 5th, 1867, delegates gathered in Montgomery, Alabama, the state capital, to draft a new state constitution as required by the Reconstruction Acts, Prior to the Reconstruction era, no Southern state had a state-financed public education system, even for white people. Prior to the Reconstruction era, Reconstruction, once again, is 1865 to 1877. No Southern state had a state-financed public education system, even for whites. Alabama's new constitution established a centralized board of education and mandated that schools receive 20% of state revenue. By 1871, nearly 55,000 African Americans and 87,000 white children were attending public schools because of the new Alabama State Constitution of 1867. By 1871, nearly 55,000 African American and 87,000 white children were attending public schools. One of the delegates to the Constitution was James Rapier, who promoted an alliance between free people and poor whites. The advances from the Constitution ended in Alabama and elsewhere with the brutal attacks on Reconstruction and the rewriting of the Alabama State Constitution in 1875 toward the end of Reconstruction. Because the white supremacists are getting back control of the state legislatures and reversing the progress that was made. The advances from the Alabama State Constitution of 1867 in Alabama and elsewhere, they're going to end with the brutal attacks on Reconstruction and the rewrite of the Alabama State Constitution in 1875. Okay, so check this out right here. And then you look at the states that are passing these not just voter suppression laws targeting critical race theory, but they can't tell you what critical race theory is. It's largely these Southern former Confederate states that are trying to suppress what can be taught about history, the history of slavery, civil rights history, all different types of different things like this. Okay, because a lot of them don't want the truth to get out. A lot of them don't want the truth to get out. All right. Now, this article here we talked about earlier in the week. Okay. And I have a subscription to Time. I have subscriptions to a lot of these news outlets because I do so much research. So if you watch our show, we're on 5-6 days a week, you know it. I guess I'm in Google Chrome. I guess I'm not logged in here in Google Chrome. I'm logged in Firefox. A new report finds that 45 states are failing to teach students about the period that shaped race relations after the Civil War. That's Reconstruction, 1865-7. Okay, so read this. This just came out January 12th, 2022. We talked about it earlier in the week on the African History Network show. Read this article. This deals with and what they're talking about is the harm that happens when people don't know history. Children that don't know history usually grow up to be adults that don't know history. In the aftermath of the insurrection a year ago, the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, many leading historians drew parallels between the violence at the U.S. Capitol and the Reconstruction era, the era of political revolution directly following the American Civil War. Quote, the events we saw reminded me very much of the Reconstruction era and the overthrow of Reconstruction, which was often accompanied or accomplished, I should say, by violent assaults on elected officials. By violent assaults on elected officials, which is one of the reasons why you need the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871. Now, this was said by Eric Foner, Pulitzer Prize winning historian and author of Reconstruction, America's Unfinished Revolution, 1863-1877. He said this in an interview with the New Yorker, published a week later, a week after the January 6th insurrection. Now, scholars say studying the aftermath of the Civil War can help put in context many of the most seminal events in the U.S. in recent years, from the brutal murder of George Floyd by police in 2020 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, okay, Derek Chauvin, to the voter suppression laws enacted after African Americans played a big in helping Joe Biden and Kamala Harris be elected president and vice president. This is a huge backlash to all this, fueled by the big lie, fueled by Benedict Donald and his allies. And you have this being funded by groups like Heritage Action, okay, led by Jessica Anderson. And Heritage Action is a sister organization to the Heritage Foundation. If you look at this article here from Mother Jones that deals with dark money groups, you see here, this deals with dark money groups who are funding the voter suppression bills that are being passed in the Republican dominated state legislatures. Let me pull up this article here. We've talked about this here on the show. All this that's taking place now is connected to history and connected to the Civil War, Reconstruction, and the Compromise of 1877, what happened after Reconstruction ended. That's not the one I want. I want this one here. There was a leaked video. This one here by Mother Jones. Okay, how's everybody doing? Share this broadcasting and social media platforms. I'm just here for a few minutes. We're just doing a brief overview of the online class I teach on Saturdays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. We posted the link here. You can register for this class. It's regularly $130. It's on sale $50. It's a 10-week online course I do at my online school. We're about to start in a few minutes here. I'm running behind. And we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch the class anytime also. So a year from now, if you want to go back and watch the full class, you can. This article here from Mother Jones that I was looking for is from May 13th, 2021. Leaked video, dark money group brags about writing GOP voter suppression bills across the country. We did it quickly and we did it quietly, said Executive Director of Heritage Action, Jessica Anderson. Okay. And she goes and talks about how they wrote the basically the boilerplate legislation that was passed in Georgia. All right. And in a private meeting last month with big money donors, the head of a top conservative group boasted that her outfit had crafted the new voter suppression law in Georgia and was doing the same with similar bills for Republican state legislators across the country. This is Senate Bill 202. Okay. And then what they do is, she talked about how they then pressure the governor to quickly sign the bill after it has passed both chambers of the state legislature. This is what's taking place right now. All right. So in today's class, we're going to deal with, like I said, we'll talk about the GI Bill and how it discriminated against African Americans after World War II. We'll talk about the Baton Rouge, Louisiana bus boycott of 1953. That was a template for the Montgomery bus boycott. We'll deal with talk about Brown versus Board of Education, U.S. Supreme Court case, 1954. And we'll talk a little bit about Emmett Till as well. And we'll talk about the Montgomery bus boycott. Okay. You can register at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And normally we do the class 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm running behind today because I'm speaking in West Virginia on Monday at Davis and Elkins College, and I'm just running behind. And I'm going to do my radio show Sunday night, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The other class that I teach is normally on Sundays, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We have a special bundle pack where you can register for both classes right now for a very limited time only for only $70. It's a $260 value. Normally these classes are $130 each. Once you register, you can watch the class for however long you want to. Even after the 10-week online course is over with, you still have access to the class. You can still go back and watch the full class forever. Okay. So you're not restricted to only being able to watch it while the class is taking place. So a year from now, 2 years from now, if you want to go back and watch these classes, you can do that. All right. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on register here. You can register for the classes. I posted the link here also on the thread of the broadcast. And then you can join us for our radio show. I'm on Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time, the African History Network show. And Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we broadcast, I'm on 9:10 a.m. to Superstation WFDF here in Detroit. You can download the iHeart Radio app and listen around the world through iHeart, or and we also broadcast here on Facebook and YouTube, the African History Network, and Michael Imhotep on Facebook and YouTube. We broadcast here when we're live as well. Click here to read articles I've written. Click here to listen to audio podcasts. Wherever you get your audio podcast from, search for the African History Network show. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com, ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization. African American History Month is coming up, Women's History Month, Juneteenth, etc. Okay, this is a 15 DVD bundle pack of my lectures that is available right now at our website. Also, Black History Month bundle pack. So this is a great value. The Michael Imhotep Black History Month 15 DVD bundle pack. So we do a lot of history here. Presentations on different topics, including the origins of African American History Month and Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Lastly, if you want to advertise with the African History Network, right on the homepage of our website, we have the information. I think I put it here. Didn't I update this? Okay, should be here. Okay, maybe the update didn't take. But email us at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com if you want to advertise with the African History Network. Also, our current promotion is buy 1 month, get 2 months free. All right, so you can join us in class today because I'm getting ready to start. We're just running late. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968. All right, be sure to follow us here on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. Turn on live notifications so you know when we go live. And follow us on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, also. And I'm going to put the flyer on our website about the presentation I'm doing on Dr. King Day in West Virginia as well. And they have information where you can watch it on Zoom also. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll see you in class. All right. Peace.